Hi everyone, welcome back to Grandpa Mark's Hobbies and a teardown of the Gaahleri and Studio G Swallowtail Airbrush. This is their newest airbrush. It was a collaboration between the two, and I'm telling you, they got it right. If you're thinking about getting one of these, look in the description. There'll be a link in the description to jump onto straight into their sales pages. But this is one heck of a machine, I'll tell you that right now. Let's pull it apart. I've been keeping it in the box just because the box is so bulletproof that it works out better for me. You get my laundry done. You get 2 O-rings and 2 Teflon seals, and I'll show you what those are for in a little bit. We're going to pull out the grease because that's what everybody's asking me about. And we'll pull out the airbrush. Now this thing comes with a 0.28 millimeter needle, a 0.5 millimeter needle, and a honkin' 0.7 millimeter needle. And I'm telling you, that thing is a beast. I used all 3 of them, and I put the 0.7 in, just doing some testing and all that. I cannot wait to paint a car with it. It puts out paint like you would not believe, and smooth as silk. This is just semi-gloss black that I tried just for the heck of it, because I'm thinking I'm going to do a car in that color, and it just that was just awesome. But anyhow, let's start tearing this thing down. I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer here. Let's see. There we go. And what I like to do is I like to start, unlike when you're tearing down to clean, I'm figuring this is already clean, so I'm going to do a tear down to do maintenance on it. And with that being said, I'm going to take out everything that's in here. And in order to take this piece out right here, the grip and the air assembly has to come out first. So we'll start with that. Take off the quick disconnect. We'll take off the handle assembly nut. And it's just easy unscrew. No tools yet. You're only going to need 2 tools. Well, 3 if you're going to cut open the grease. You need snips. But really only 2. Now there's 2 ways to take this apart. What I'll show you right now is I'll grab this up top here, right above this, where it looks like there's a wrench to go on there. I'm going to take it off above that and unscrew it. And it's just that easy. What that does is that relieves pressure on that little, let me see if I can get that in there, that little brass pin in there. And that'll drop down this way and let this piece slide back. So let's show you this real quick. This has an O-ring right here. This piece unscrews. There's spring tension here, so watch yourself. But this unscrews if you ever got to get in here and maybe you sucked up some dirt or something. There's an O-ring right there. Here's the spring and the little brass assembly. There's your spring. There's your little brass assembly with an O-ring there. The O-ring goes towards the inside here. So the 2-step piece goes into here like this with the spring on it. So really, unless you get dirt in here, if you're using an air separator or a water separator in your airline, you shouldn't need to take this apart. But I just figured I'll show you how it works. Give that a little tighten. I don't have to crank on it. I'm not going to put a wrench on it either. Didn't need it. Came apart without one. I'm going to put it back together without one. Let's set that out of the way. All right. Now we're going to dig into this. First thing I'm going to do, just like I always do when I'm cleaning, is I'm going to take the back cover off. And we'll set that aside. Loosen the jam nut. Pull this back about a ½ inch. Then we'll move up forward here. We're going to take off the needle protector. And look at this thing is huge. I can hold this and work on them without any problems with my big fingers. I love this thing. Same with the cap, the jet cover. Look at how big this is. They made this for guys like me. I'm telling you that right now. If you have arthritis or anything like that, this makes it so much better. Now, usually the jet comes out with the jet cover, and you just tilt it and it'll drop right out. So there's the 3 in the front. I'm going to move them back out of the way. We got more stuff coming. Now remember, I pushed that needle out this way to get it out of the way here for 2 reasons. 1, I don't bend it, and 2, I don't stab myself with it. But now we're going to push it forward. Just like always keep that habit of taking that thing this way, and then you'll never draw paint back through your airbrush that way. Around it, pull it out. And I'm going to move this real quick and show you this. This is the 0.7 millimeter, and it is huge. But look at, I hope you can see how nice this is polished. I did nothing to it. This is straight from the factory, from Gaahleri and Studio G, just like that. So, which is good, because I don't polish my needles. I always say I'm a klutz, and there's no sense in me messing up with that, the angles that they have on there. I'm going to take off the jam nut all the way. We're going to take this piece off right here. And you got to excuse my voice here. I'm a little hoarse. There's spring tension on here. There's pretty good spring tension on here too. So just be careful when you're taking this apart. That comes off. Spring and guide come off. See the notch in this? That notch will line up with that little indentation that's in there. Hope you can see that. That is this screw in the back. This has to come off next, and that's one of the few tools we're going to need to tear this down. And it's just a little flathead screwdriver, and I wish I didn't have one that was a mile long, but this is all I got right now. So keep that next to the mat so when it drops it doesn't go to the carpet monster. That's off. Now you see there's a big slot in there, and I don't have a screwdriver big enough that I can put underneath my camera. So I'm just going to use my tweezers, which work fine. This is a long-winded thread, so don't be surprised. It does take a while to get out of there, even if you had a regular screwdriver. So here it comes. This doesn't need to be cranked in. I'll show you why it doesn't need to be super tight also when we get it out of here. But like I said, it goes in there quite a ways on some very fine threads. And it needs to have those too because of the way this is set up. Almost out. And there it goes. Big old brass piece. And there's that hole for that screw that goes down past that lets this piece guide through there. So that's that. There's going to be a spring in here. There's that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to give it a tap. And that takes that little brass piece right here that this piece pushes up on with that spring tension. Remember, this is your airline. That pushes up on that little brass piece. So I'm going to give it a tap just to knock it on out of the way. And then we should be able to tap it out of there. So in order to get all this apart, this brass piece has to come down right here. That brass piece has to come this way to come past this. This goes in here this way with the flats to the flats, and they go right next to this. So you can't really mess it up putting it back in. It's basically the big notch goes down, the flats go to the side. But there's where your grease goes right there, and you can see Gaahleri put a bunch in there right now. So I'm not going to add, well, I'm going to, just a smidge right there. I did cut this open. Might as well use it, right? Geez, my voice sounds like I'm 13 again. I'm going to put just a dab right here. That's it. Just a little dab right there. And that'll keep that brass piece from wearing out. This should last you years. So now we'll put this back in because basically we are done. That's as far as you should ever need to tear this thing down. You can go in here deeper. If you look in there, there's a Phillips head that you can pull this out that pulls this piece out. But I don't see any need to ever have to do that. If things get bad and you need to replace this, there is a gasket in here. If things get bad on that gasket, I guess that would be the reason to take it apart. But I've been airbrushing a long time, and I've never had to change that gasket, fortunately. So we'll drop this back in. See how it drops in and it slides right up? I'll do it again. It slides right up past that handle. And that notch, we made sure the notch was down. So now we will take the spring, put it back in. We'll take the brass piece here, and we'll make sure that the minus sign goes out. A buddy of mine, Eric, that I work with, his screwdrivers, he'll tell you, grab me the plus screwdriver, grab me the minus screwdriver, and that always cracks me up. So now we're going to screw this way back in here, and remember, long-winded screwdriver. They're long-winded threads, so it takes a minute to get it in there. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to bring this up. Hopefully it's in focus, but I'm going to show you what you're looking for here. See this? That hole is close, right? Yep, that's close. We're going to go one full turn, and that should line it right up. And that's it. You're good. Now, the hardest part for me is to get this screw back in that hole. And I've never been able to line it up. So I'm going to take my screwdriver, put it in the slot, and I'm going to lift it straight up. And then it'll go right in those threads. If it binds at all, stop. Back it up and try again. There it goes. See there? It should not bind at all. Bring it up until it's just snug. You don't have to crank on it. Just make it snug. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I'm going to take this back out. I can go another full turn on that. The screw head was actually hitting. The joys of doing this on camera. I'm looking through the camera to try to get that hole lined up. And see there, when I say it should not bind up, it should not bind up. And it did before that went in there. That's why I was looking inside there. And I still can never get that to line up. So I'll put my screwdriver on here again. Just like... I don't know why I even try. Get that on there. Pinched in between my fingers. Bring it up straight. And it'll start threading right in. And like I said, that should not bind. That should go all the way in there. Like that. See there? Give it a little snug. Look in there. You should have the tip of that screw sticking inside there. When I looked at it before, I didn't. And that wasn't flush. So that's why I pulled it out. Went another full turn. I'm glad that happened on camera. Now I'm going to put the guide and spring in here. I'm going to put the guide in here so I don't have to struggle with it spinning. That goes right over top of that little screw, just like that. Put the spring on. Put the cap on. And remember, there's a good amount of tension on there. That's your tension for your paint. My brain just shut off there for a second. Now, let me talk about the jet real quick, because I told you I was going to talk about those Teflon gaskets. That's where that would go. If this got niched, notched, cut, or munged up somehow, that little Teflon seal is a replacement for it. The 0.7 millimeter is black on here. We'll put that in there, and they say self-centering. You can't mess this up. This brass piece sticks out and goes right in the hole. So you can't really mess that up. And then the cover goes straight over the top. No binding. If it doesn't go on there just finger tight like this, then don't keep going. Oh, jeepers. The other O-rings here that I told you I was going to tell you about go right in here. That's an O-ring right there. So, for any reason you're running this and you're not getting paint to flow right, check that gasket there. Check your Teflon seat. If you're getting air coming up into your cup, it's probably this gasket, or this isn't on tight enough. There's two ways to blow paint or blow your air back into the cup. You can put your finger over top of the cover. Don't ever do that with the cover off, because you're gonna stab your finger. Or you can loosen this up and then easily start pulling this back, and it'll start pulling the air backwards into here. And that's personal preference. So let me grab this. We're going to put this back on. And before we put the needle back in, I want to put this back on and a handle. And you saw that I could put this all back together again before I put this on. But you have to take this off before you take this piece off right here. It will not come out with this in place, because this is pushing up on that groove, and you don't want to force it out of there. Screw this back on. I'm letting my fingers rub across with tension on them. Make sure those are tight. We will put the handle back on. I really like this red and black, like that. So cool. We'll put our grip nut back on here. I'm going to put my quick disconnect back on and show you this looks good right here. Now I'm going to put the jam nut back on. And with the jam nut, the pointy side goes out because it's tapered to close down and lock onto that needle. Now let's drop our needle back in here. I'm still really impressed with that. I still put my finger up here to guide that in because I don't have my visor on. It'll push in and you'll feel a little tension where it's going through the gasket right up in here. Keep going till it hits the stop, and that's all the farther you want to go. Your needle is sticking out in there. Now we'll put this piece back on. And that's it. I love this. Just the little extras. But I'll tell you what, this thing sprays like a banshee. I'm not kidding. I love this thing. I like this tension on here. Everything about this. But that new trigger and the way this grip comes down to my hand is awesome. I love it. But there you go. Tearing down the Swallowtail from Gaahleri and Studio G. It's as simple as that. I'll let you go with this. Y'all have a great day and a better tomorrow. Thank you for watching.